Victoria Dale Harris says, can you explain what parent essential oils are? Are there function in cell membrane health? I was given, but haven't not read yet some articles that seem to be saying that high dose cold water fish oils are damaging cell membrane health and mitochondrial function. Parent essential oil is a term invented by this guy, Brian Peskin, who I think he has a good reason for why he thinks what he thinks. And I think he has good concerns, but I think that he is wrong. So, Steven, I see your hand is raised. If you still want to, I'm not sure how long you've had it raised. If you still want to ask a question, keep it up and I'll call on you next. If not, please lower your hand if you don't want to ask a live question. So Brian Peskin basically looked at the data that said, look, it's not clear at all that supplementing fish oil is good for you, because doing so can cause oxidative stress and cause damage to cells. That's true. And that's because the highly unsaturated oils found in fish oil, even found in liver and egg yolks, the omega-3 and omega-6 physiologically essential fatty acids, arachidonic acid and DHA are the two that are physiologically essential. Those are highly vulnerable to being damaged. And so it's true that if you get too much, you get damage. What I think he's wrong on is that he has taken that data and said, no, you don't want these oils. You want a lot of flax oil. You want a lot of, I don't remember which oils he uses, but he's saying you want a lot of the parent essential oils. And the parents are the plant fatty acids that can be converted in to arachidonic acid and DHA. And so those are oils like, again, I don't know if he recommends these specific oils, but those are oils like flax oil, like soybean oil, canola oil, like, all those things that provide omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids that can be converted into the longer chain forms. My problem with that is that it is true that a high intake of the products, the son and daughter oils, if you want to call them that, is damaging. It's also true that a high intake of the parent oils is damaging, or none of them are damaging. It's just they create a liability for possible damage. Because it's not damaging to eat fish or to take fish oil, but you put the fish oil fatty acids in your membranes, and if something comes along that damages the membrane, it does more damage because of the fish oil fatty acids there. Same thing is true with all the parent oils. It's just to a lesser degree. But to a lesser degree, does that make them safe? Yeah, gram for gram. Yeah, it's probably, you could argue that if you meet your needs for DHA and arachidonic acid, that it's better to have an extra gram of alpha-linolenic acid from flax oil than it is to have an extra gram of EPA and DHA over and above beyond what could possibly give you any health benefit. But when you're talking about using those oils in the diet to get the EPA or the DHA, some people say EPA. I'm not a fan of EPA as much. Maybe EPA, definitely the DHA and the arachidonic acid. You got to consume a lot of them. And so all of a sudden your total number of vulnerable fatty acids, the polyunsaturated fatty acids, the PUFAs, is way higher than it would be if you took a small amount of the DHA and arachidonic acid. So I would recommend just taking a small amount of the arachidonic acid and DHA, since at least you know that it's there. With genetics and hormones and health, you don't even know if you're making a conversion otherwise. So look, I think high dose fish oil is ridiculous. I think 5, 6, 7, 8 grams of EPA and DHA is nuts. It will lower triglycerides in people with really high triglycerides. Not denying that. But as a means of nourishment, or as a means of getting it preemptively, or as a means of anything other than medically treating high triglycerides, it makes no sense and it's risky. It's potentially harmful. Brian Peskin's right. Where I differ from Brian Peskin is he says get the parent oils. I say get small amounts of the physiological essential fatty acids that you would get if you ate fish once or twice a week, and if you ate liver once a week, and if you ate egg yolks on average 1, 2, 3 a day. You get plenty of them.